Namaste, I'm Yugank Goyal. In this segment, I want to take you into something deeply personal for many farming families, the way they relate to soil, water, nature. Not as tools or resources, but as living parts of their everyday work. Let's see how this shows up across different regions in ways that are simple, real, and full of meaning. So let's talk about the land and the soil. Take, for example, the farmland in Balasore in Odisha. Many villagers treat it like as if it's Lakshmi Devi, said to be the giver of prosperity. Others see her as a daughter of the household, and in either ways, there's respect. If someone steps into a prepared field, they stop, fold their hands, and say "Mafi," like an apology to the land for disturbing her space. They even remove footwear or touch the soil before walking through it. This is something that we even do in our sports games, that we touch the soil before we enter the field. Let's take a look at Rojo Parv in Odisha, celebrated in the month of Asad around mid-June. For 3 days, no ploughing, no digging, no sowing. Because during this time, Bhudevi, the earth, is said to be menstruating. The word Rojo comes from, it means menstrual blood. Each day has a name. Pahili Rojo, the first day. Rojo Sankranti, the peak day. Basi Roja, the final day of rest. On the fourth day, there is Basumati Snana, a ritual bath for the earth using turmeric and flour. On days like Akshaya Tritiya, people here gather for Bhumi Pujan. A small pit is dug in the chasa using a spade. Water is poured in, flowers are added. Sandalwood paste is applied to the soil like tilak on forehead. Fruits and sweets are offered, incense lit, and they hull, the plow. And the hull that we were talking about earlier, that is worshipped. Only after this do they begin cultivation. Go to Andhra Pradesh and Araku Valley, the land is worshipped as Nela Talli, meaning Mother Earth in Telugu. A stone symbol is placed at the edge of the field. Farmers offer rice, flowers, turmeric. Seeds and farming tools are brought here before the seasons begin. And this is not a public function. It happens quietly, family by family, year by year, generation over generation. In Himachal Pradesh, in Lahore particularly, no grass or tree is cut with iron sickles until the Lama declares the date for sowing. The Lama offers prayers to La, the guardian of water and soil. Incense sticks are placed in the fields. Families gather. The fields are given some sort of ashirwad before the work begins. In some villages, the eldest women walk to the edge of the field, bend, and they speak to the land. Not with chants, but with plain words, the way you talk to someone you know. The Atharva Ved Bhumi Sukta calls earth the Mata, the one who holds our life, the mother. These rituals echo that idea. And it's not limited to one part of the country. Across Bharat, various versions of Bhumi Pujan exists. Not as set prayers, but as actions. Touching the soil, marking it with kumkum, feeding a cow before walking in, waiting for the right moment before ploughing. It's just wonderful and beautiful. In Jharkhand, the Sarhul festival celebrates the blooming of the sal tree. We discussed about it. Marks kind of the marriage of Bhudevi and Surya Dev. The Pahan, or the village priest, offers the first flowers, along with rice beer, and marks this union of land and light. The Oraon, Munda, and Ho communities, they see this not as a performance, but as a protection. When the trees bloom, they say the land breathes again. Among the Bhil farmers of, let's say, Nandurbar in Maharashtra, the puja of Prithvi Ma happens in 3 stages: before tilling, sowing, and harvesting. And at each point, a different Devi is called. Before sowing, they invoke protectors of crops. Before harvest, they invite Modi Ma and Surya, asking them to bless the yield. In Tamil Nadu, farmers pray to Mariamman before sowing. She is said to be linked to health and rain, and shrines are often placed near wells or even under trees. Offerings often include neem leaves, turmeric, rice, and jaggery. But the beauty is amazing. In Tinsukia, Assam, farmers mark Lochmi Joba, a day when Bhudevi is thanked for fertility. People place a small mound of soil near the house, decorated with leaves and sindoor, and offer rice. Some families even light incense. They light incense in the soil to keep their grain bin, because it has helped the crops for the whole year. All of this reminds us farming doesn't begin with effort. It begins with acknowledgement. The land is not seen as a material entity to be exploited, but as a present, alive, responsive being. We both live together, land and us. And so before the seed, there's a pause. Before the tool, a gesture. Let's move to water or river worship and water puja, Jal Puja. You can talk a lot about a place by how it treats water. In our country, rivers and seas are not treated as objects, or utility subjects. They're spoken to, they're waited for, they're honored, not through big declarations, but through daily lives on a daily basis. Think about Ganga. In Varanasi, every evening people gather for Ganga Aarti. We all know about it. Brass lamps are lit, diyas are lit, they're swung in rhythms, flames offered to the river. And the Pandits don't face the crowd, they face the water. The beauty of this is found in many other rivers, in many other places in this country. In Haridwar, of course, it's relatively quieter. Families float their little diyas, each likely carrying a prayer, a name, or a hope. Some ask for health, some for peace, some just like to sit with Ganga. But sometimes being near the river is all that you want. These rivers have flown unbroken for centuries and millennia in this civilization, and they are not therefore treated merely as geographical objects. In Prayagraj, where Ganga meets Yamuna and Saraswati, people don't need an invitation. They go because it just feels right. Ganga has always been there, through their grandparents' lives, through their festivals, funerals, weddings, and just walks. In Bihar and eastern Uttar Pradesh, during Chhath Puja, the river becomes something else entirely. There are no murtis, no noise, no platforms, just people walking slowly into the water at dawn, at dusk, and then again at dawn. They stand still, they hold baskets of fruits and diyas, offering their fast, their silence, their bodies, not out of fear, but out of steadiness, out of a gratefulness, out of a gratitude and a thanks. These women don't eat or drink for days, not because they want something in return, but because they understand that life flows when there is balance. Move a little bit westward and you meet Narmada. She doesn't thunder like many others river do. She glides, and yet people walk her entire length. Not in cars, not on bikes, on foot. It's called Narmada Parikrama. Hundreds, even thousands of kilometers with rules. You don't cross her, not even on a bridge. You walk on one side until the origin and then return on the other side. People do this for months. In Telangana, Andhra, rivers are welcomed as if they are guests. During Pushkaralu, every 12 years, people bathe in the river for 12 days straight. There's a different Pushkar for each river. For Saraswati, yes, even though she flows underground, people gather where they say she still lives. Further north, in Leh, there is the Sindhu Darshan. People travel long distances from across the country to reach the Indus. They carry soil from their own hometowns and offer it to the river. What bigger and a more powerful gesture? And then we come to the edge of the land, Chinnapalam in Tamil Nadu. Is the sea Kadalamma, Amma of the ocean. Before fishermen leave in the morning, they don't just push their boats out. They stop, they bow, they offer flowers, turmeric, they offer words. They speak of the sea as they speak to a mother, someone strong, a little unpredictable, but never ignored. In January, they celebrate Mariamman, who guards their coast. They walk in processions, they cook for the whole village, they dress the sea in colors and sounds, but they never forget the same sea that gives can also take. People sing to him in the fields, they dance near Brahmaputra's banks. They offer zak, leafy greens, back to the soil that the river has helped nourish. Everywhere you look, whether it's narrow canal, in Andhra, or maybe the roaring monsoon-fed rivers of the northeast, the relationship stays the same. Water is not outside of us. It is not a tool, it's not a backdrop. It's a thing that makes everything else possible. Besides, this is also memory. This is practice. This is knowledge passed not in the classroom, but in kitchens, in songs, in homes, in the way elders whisper to the river before they take the first sip and the small grandchild is watching by. Because in India, we don't do puja to water like it's separate from us. We recognize ourselves in it. It feeds us, yes, but it also shapes us. We learn from it. We carry it inside us. And in return, we honor it with fire, with silence, with walking, with fasting, with different kinds of celebrations. Ganga doesn't need us to light lamps. The Narmada doesn't ask us to walk beside her. The sea doesn't demand a name, and yet we show up every day, every year, every generation. Because in doing so, we remind ourselves we are part of something bigger. We are not above nature, we are held by it. And in that sense, we look at nature as companions. In fact, the beauty of this is that the commonality of this reverence for nature is held across the country. Could be different celebration, different style, different tool, but it spans across the nation is what makes it one. If you look at nature as companion, well, in most farming households, we know that nature isn't something that is outside the home, it's part of the home. A bull, for example, isn't just an animal used for work. It's given a name, fed before the rest of the family, and rested on festive days. A neem tree in the yard isn't just there to provide a shade. It's viewed as a valuable medicine, a meeting spot, and a place where people tie threads and leave food. A stone in the field, shaped like a snake, is meant to tell you that patch has something watching. In Karnataka, these snake stones, Nagakallu, they're placed at the edge of farms. Farmers leave milk, turmeric, or rice there, especially during Nag Panchami. But this isn't a festival that comes and goes. It's part of how water is managed. Snakes keeps the rats away. Snakes live where water collects, so people treat them with care. They say if you hurt a snake, the well might just dry up. And this is kind of a rule taught without a paper. And this is how Jnana Parampara works here. You learn through the field. You don't need to read. You need to watch, listen, and repeat. You see how elders act around trees, they act around stones, tools, and you do the same. And these ancestral practices live on. This is how knowledge system stays alive, through stories in what you're expected to do. In Kerala, there are entire groves that are left untouched, and even in many other parts of India, frankly. People call them in Kerala Sarpakavus. They're not temples with pandits. They are patches of land, usually behind homes, where nothing is cut or moved. Inside, you'll find snake stones, wild plants, and silence. Children are told, don't play there, don't throw stones. It's a sacred grove. No one explains why. We don't need to go to why. We just know. These groves often sit near wells or ponds because people leave them alone. They become homes for frogs, birds, insects, wild plants. They become protection, not just for snakes, but for water. This is the Lokek Prayojan, the practical use, and evidence of it. Keeping a patch of land for snakes helps control pests. Letting plants grow wild supports bees and insects. And leaving it untouched means the water stays cooler, the soil holds better, and the air stays cleaner. What looks like a ritual is actually a form of land management. In Tamil Nadu's Puliyari village, 2 trees stand in the middle of the settlement. One tamarind, one neem. The tamarind has a hollow where people found a murti of Shiva long time ago. The neem is linked to Mariamman, the village, the rain, the health guardian. People come every day to these trees. Some light lamps, some sweep, some just simply sit. Some pour water, but no one treats the tree as separate from daily life. They're part of it. A girl with fever gets neem leaves from here. A farmer heading to the field ties a cloth to the branch and asks for a good day. There are no acts of prayer. They're just instructions taught by parents, used by children, over generations, over a long period of time. You see the same pattern in Jharkhand, where the mahua tree supports entire families. It even grows in poor soil. It gives flowers, fruits, seeds, bark. All of these things are useful. Families collect the flowers for food and local drinks. The bark is boiled to treat fever. Even the fallen leaves are used for plates. Mahua is called the tree of life, not just in poetry, not just because it is poetic, but because it keeps people going through dry months. People here say, if Mahua survives, we will also. This is a gyan that doesn't need to be written. It's passed by hand. It inspires you. You know how to boil, what to gather, what not to cut through this generational Gyan Parampara. And this way of thinking isn't gone. In Piplantari in Rajasthan, a girl's birth is marked by planting 111 trees. Neem, mango, amla, shisham, you name it. The trees are watered as a girl grows. The family checks them, fences them, protects them, feeds these trees for compost. The trees become part of the household. We can't use the word belief in the entire text. When trees are treated as daughters, there is an ecosystem that culture becomes canopy. This is the unity behind all these expressions. There's a sacred, that sacred is not kept aside. Is a snake in the field, is a neem by the wall, or neem by the well, the shadow of the banyan, the tree, isko dobara bolenge. This is the unity behind all expressions, that the sacred is not kept aside. It is the snake in the field, neem by the well, shadow of a banyan, grain given to ants, sun folded into a morning prayer. And each time we act with attention, light a lamp, tie a thread, water a tree, we participate in a Jivan Darshana. We practice a way of seeing that says we do not live on earth, we live with it. It might be worth for us to go deeper into the idea of sacred groves that I was talking about. We mentioned about the Kerala's example, but in many villages, there is always a patch of land that nobody touches. We've seen it in Northeast, different parts of South India, definitely in other parts. No digging, no cutting, no planting. People say this place is theirs. Who they depends on where you are. Sometimes it's ancestors, sometimes it's forests, sometimes older forces that people don't name. What matters is everyone knows not to disturb it. These groves don't need a fence, they don't need a sign. The rule is carried by a habit. Children grow up being told, don't throw stones there, don't break a branch, don't walk in unless you've been told to. No one stops to explain it every time. It's not a debate, it's a way of life that teaches through quiet limits. And these groves are not far away that you would think, tucked away in the middle of some jungles. They sit close, right at the edge of fields, near a pond, behind the last row of houses. Farming happens here and the rest happens there. Seeds are sown here and nothing is touched there. One teaches you how to work, the other teaches you how to leave things alone. That's how knowledge moves in these places. Not through books, but through land, through ancestral practices. Jnana Parampara isn't written, it's walked, seen, repeated. In places like Jharkhand or Bihar, people bring cooked food, rice beer, or even chicken before collecting anything from the forest. These groves are called sarana. No one speaks loudly there, no one eats what's been offered. The space is treated like a guest room, meant for those who come before, not for the living to use as they like, but to pay their respect. Sometimes a grove grows around a stone platform where people stop before long journeys, or when they return from one. In parts of Chhattisgarh, these are called Devgudis or Mata Gudis. Offerings might be small, water, some flowers, a bit of rice, but the act matters. It's a way to acknowledge that you're not walking alone. Some groves have thick jackfruit and mango trees, and you'll often find banyan roots hanging low enough to even brush your shoulders. These are known as Devrai in parts of Goa. People who pass through won't even pick a fallen fruit unless they've asked first. Even when wood is needed for fire, they'll gather it from somewhere else, not from these places. In Andhra, some groves carry names like Pavitravan or Pavitra Kshetra. A small shrine sits under a neem or a peepal tree. Someone might come with a bowl of oil, light a lamp, or simply sit. These places often carry the name of either Shiva or Hanuman, but the practice doesn't need a priest or a temple. The place holds its own rhythm, its own respect. In Assam is the village groups who take care of the groves. These are called Than or Madaiko, and they become gathering spots during festivals like Bihu. Across all these places, people may give different reasons, but the pattern is the same. Don't disturb what you don't fully understand. These groves teach the value of leaving things alone, of not taking just because you can. That's the kind of learning that doesn't come from explanation. It comes from following our elders, comes from repetition, comes from following practice that our ancestors have continued. And they aren't set aside because they're useless. Quite the opposite. They store water, as we mentioned earlier, hold rare plants, give bees a place to work. They keep animals nearby. This is where Laukik Prayojan and Jnana Parampara meet. Use and memory side by side. These groves may look like patches of wild land, but they carry instructions, not to work harder, but to pause, to leave room, to know when not to touch. What we have seen is simple. Across regions, before any farming begins, people take a moment. They acknowledge the land, the water, the trees, and everything that supports the work as part of daily life. These actions are not explained every time. They are repeated, remembered, and passed on. This is how many families in Bharat relate to nature, not as something to control, but as something to live with. Namaste.